everybody, and welcome to episode 100. I am Wootini from gaygamer.net, and this is the 100th podcast. I'm very excited about it. As you can see, I got all dressed up in my finest video game shirt. This is actually from the launch of Wii Music. You might remember that from a few years ago. And being that it's Christmas, we have a very special holiday backdrop for the show this week. And happy holidays to one and all, whatever you might celebrate. And I'm very happy to report that after asking for some viewer questions that I could answer as a special Q&A interaction with my audience for the 100th episode, I did get more than one or two questions, so thank you for that. That makes me feel good. It makes me think that there are more than just a couple of people watching this. Let's get started. The first question comes from Clifford Greer, who asks, "Are you a stoner?" And no. No, I'm not. I guess that's just how I sound. I saw the question, I was like, what? And then I thought, I guess I could see it. Because when I do these, I just have some topics in mind. I don't have a script or anything. I'm just sitting down in front of the camera, and I'm just winging it, which is why sometimes I ramble, and sometimes I stumble over my words, and I sound like I'm trying to figure out what I want to say. So I guess, apparently, I sound like a stoner. He also asked, do you really wear a different shirt for each podcast? And then Terry Yaza asked, how many t-shirts do you own? And then Valentine asked, where do you get those awesome t-shirts? Yes, I do have a lot of t-shirts. I haven't worn exactly a different t-shirt for every single podcast. In the beginning, I just started, wearing a t-shirt, and I thought, I'll just wear some video game t-shirts when I do these. And then what happened was, I think somewhere in the beginning, maybe around 10 or 12, I wore the same t-shirt, and when I was posting it, I realized, I already wore that t-shirt. I have enough t-shirts, there's no reason to repeat them. And then I started to think every week, okay, have I worn this one? No. Alright, let me wear this one. So then it became a thing where I was trying to not repeat my t-shirts. But I think I've only repeated a couple. Although I have also worn, regular shirts and some tank tops when it was 100 degrees in the summer. Yeah, I guess I probably do own nearly 100 t-shirts. And there are some that, I don't think I've worn yet. So, there might still be some more t-shirts. So I don't know exactly how many I own, but it's a lot. I have a disease. And as for where I get them all over the place. Online, I'm a big fan of 80stees.com. They have all kinds of stuff from 80s movies and TV shows. They also have more current stuff too, but I like the more retro 70s and 80s t-shirt styles. Like an Iron-On of Donnie and Marie kind of a thing. They also have a bunch of video game t-shirts. They're really cool. Jinx is another one online where you can get some really fun t-shirts. But I tend to end up buying them. I'm not always a big fan of buying them online unless it's something that I can't find in a store, because I really like to try them on, because sometimes I'll buy a shirt and it's too small, and sometimes I'll buy one that I think will fit and it's too big and it's baggy, and I'm like, eh. And then also I prefer, softer cotton is obviously better. And you can't tell that online. But those are two online. In reality, I tend to go a little crazy at, PAX East or Comic-Con, because PAX East especially, because there's a lot of t-shirts there that you can't really get except, online, but here you can actually test them and try them out. Comic-Con you can kind of find at comic book stores and stuff, that's not such a big deal. But that's where I went a little nuts this last Comic-Con with the t-shirts. And every time I buy a t-shirt, I'm just like, I shouldn't buy this t-shirt. I don't need any more t-shirts. But it's so cool. And then I can't resist it. So I end up getting it anyway. And no, I will not be doing episode 100 shirtless as a special treat. That's not happening. The next question is from Craig Pemberton, who asked, if you could create a game, what would it be? Also, where do you find the time to do all of the gaming? And then, if you could rewrite the Mass Effect 3 ending, how would you have finished it? If I could create a game, I don't know what it would be. I do remember many years ago, like once we got into like the PlayStation Xbox era and the games became much more sophisticated, this is so embarrassing and I can't believe I'm going to admit this, but I wanted a Melrose Place game. Like a licensed Melrose Place game where you basically played a character of your own design that would move into the Melrose Place complex, and it would basically have all of the characters from Melrose Place, and you would interact with them, and you could take up romances with them, and like get involved in schemes with them, and like basically it would just be like this big soap opera. Because that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy, is soap opera. And I love, as games have gotten more sophisticated, how interacting with the NPCs has become more and more in-depth. And that's always been fascinating to me. And I love games that have that kind of angle to them. Lots of personality. So I'm more about like the interaction and the story as opposed to like the combat and the, you know, strategy and that sort of thing. So I would love to have like, you know, a dating sim, but not a cheesy dating sim. You know, like a Melrose Place game, where it's like an open-world soap opera kind of thing. That would be what I'd love to play. But I have absolutely no, like, computer programming skills, so I could never get a job in the industry working to create my own game. I couldn't even do it, like, on my own. Like, it's not happening. Like RPG Maker, never even tried it, because I wouldn't be able to even make that. As for where do I find the time, I don't. I wish I had more time to play games. That's why I have so many unfinished games, because, I mean, there are games where I get to a point and it becomes really hard and I can't beat that final boss or whatever, so it stays technically unfinished, but I feel like I've gotten my money's worth. But there are a lot of games where I'll be playing it, I'll get about halfway through, and then something else comes out that I've been waiting for forever, and I'll be like, I can't resist it, I have to go buy it, and I'll just play both, which never happens. I say it, and it never happens. And then the previous game just ends up being unfinished, and it sits on a shelf. And I always mean to go back to it, but I'm going to have to win the lottery before I can get back to it, because I have a day job, and that's why I tend to play a lot of portable games, because I have more time to play those than I do my console games at home. And then as for the Mass Effect 3 ending, I didn't necessarily mind the Mass Effect 3 ending. Mind you, I never played the revised ending, because I found out that you actually had to go back and play, like, the whole thing, the whole ending sequence, and I'm just like, oh, that's such a pain. I thought I could just, like, put it in and then just, like, watch the final cinematics and get a different ending. But I didn't mind the Mass Effect ending. And in fact, and I don't know, like I said, I didn't play the revised one, that they updated it, so that might be what I'm about to say, and I just don't know it. But I didn't have a problem. I felt like the sacrifice was great, like that's fine. It was a fitting end to the trilogy and the character. I did not have a problem with that. I mean, yes, obviously a purely happy ending would be great, but I don't know that it's in keeping with the story. I felt like it was very fitting. My main problem with the Mass Effect ending was it just felt really abrupt. I wanted more of an epilogue where you got to see everybody and you got to see how it all, you know, how everyone ended up, who lived, who died, who ended up together, who's doing what where, and then just to get a sense of how the galaxy was going to go on after that ending. I just wanted more of a explanation. It was just too abrupt. I would have just liked more. Even if that just meant sitting there for 15 minutes watching cinematics and not actually pushing any buttons, I'd be fine, because I would like to see how it was all going to turn out. That's just me. Next question, from Sad Clown, who had quite a few. What are your predictions on the future of gay themes in games? Could indie games like Coming Out on Top and My Ex-Boyfriend the Space Pirate pave the way for a gamer renaissance? And what other genres do you feel could benefit from LGBTQ content? As far as predicting the future of gay themes in games, I think it's only going to become more prevalent. I mean, if you think about where we are now versus where we were like 5 or 10 years ago, it's crazy. Like, the fact that, you know, you can have a same-sex relationship in a BioWare game and some other games is very groundbreaking. I mean, if you think like 10 years ago, that was not even an option. I do think that the purely gay games, like Coming Out on Top, are going to stay on the indie market. Because it's so gay, and it's such a niche audience, I mean, there are a lot of gay gamers, but you're not going to see someone like Warner Brothers or Interactive or EA or Sony or Microsoft putting out a purely gay-themed game. I just don't see that happening. I mean, I could see Microsoft doing an indie game on Xbox Live, maybe, but, and Sony with, like, a PlayStation Network game, but I don't think you're going to see, like, a major release of a game with predominantly gay themes to it. I'm not sure I necessarily have a problem with that. I don't mind it if it's just the indie games. I do like the fact that now when I play a game, I have the option to romance a guy. And I don't have to play a woman in order to do that. I can play a male character, because it used to be I'd always have to play a female character so that I could engage in the male romances. But now I can play a man and still romance a guy. And that's really cool, and I appreciate that. And in my opinion, I think that's great. That's enough. For me, anyway. You know, when I play a game, I want to be able to play a role-playing game or an adventure game with choices. I want to be able to make the choices that I would make. Meaning, I would like to romance a guy. You know, that's enough for me. I don't appreciate when it's, limited. And I feel like that's a great thing that now we are getting that option. And people might complain and go, oh, it's gross. And it's like, well, don't make the choice to romance the other guys and you won't have to see any of that footage. But leave it in there for us so that we can have that option if we want. And now that these games have all these different choices, there's no reason not to include every iteration possible. So that whatever your inclination is, gay, straight, bi, lesbian, queer, transgender, whatever, like, you'll have choices that you can make in the game that would represent what you yourself would make, which is what a role-playing game is supposed to be, even though it's usually not. They're very limited, and it's like, well, do I choose this or that? And it's like, well, I don't want to do either of those things. And then as for other genres that would benefit from gay content, I would say everything. Throw it in wherever it's possible. I guess it's not really possible, it's not really appropriate to have it in something, in a child's game, but I would like to see it in basically any kind of, like, action-adventure or role-playing game that have, character choices that you make and interactions with the other characters. If there's going to be a romance option in the game, I want there to be a romance option for every type of person. That's all. I don't think it's that much to ask for. But that's just me. Next question. From Kevin. Any news on Animal Crossing coming out, and what Wii U games are you most excited for? Sadly, there is still no official release date in the US for the Animal Crossing New Leaf, which is a better title than Jump Out. I'm super excited for it. I can't wait for it. Obviously, I love Animal Crossing, and I'm going to play the hell out of it as soon as I get it. I'm kind of hoping maybe like in the February or March range, but I don't know. And as for the Wii U games that I'm most excited for, I'm very excited for Lego City Undercover for some reason, just because I love the Lego games and the idea of playing like Grand Theft Auto Lego in like an open world. You're playing a cop in an open Lego world, and you just have all these missions and adventures. I think that could be really, really fun. I'm also excited for Wii Fit U for obvious reasons, if you know the site and my history with Wii Fit. And I'm sort of tentatively excited about Dragon Quest X, but I'm wary because it's an MMO, but I feel like if anybody was going to be able to get me to start playing a proper MMO, it would be Nintendo, because they would ease you into it. But I don't know. I'm not crazy about MMOs with subscription fees and everything, but I do love Dragon Quest, so I don't know. I'm torn. I wish it was a regular Dragon Quest game and not an MMO, but what are you going to do? And then, obviously, whatever Zelda game they make is going to be awesome, so I'm super excited for that, but that's probably not even going to be announced until E3 next spring, and it might be out for Christmas next year if we're lucky. What I'm actually very excited about with the Wii U are the cross-platform games for the first time. With the Wii, it was just sort of lame because they would have to downgrade the graphics and then they would just add in some wiggle controls and call it a day. But here, I'm going to be very interested to see, now that they can keep the same graphics as on the 360 and PS3, but I'm curious how they're going to use the gamepad. I'm very curious to see if developers just use it for a map or inventory, or if they decide to be a little more creative with it and actually use the touchscreen in an interesting fashion. Because before, I would always go with the 360 or the PS3 version, and never even consider the Wii version. But now, the Wii U, I would consider buying the Wii U version of a game if it had really good gamepad integration. If it was just inventory and map, then maybe not. Then maybe I would go with Xbox or PlayStation. But I'm hoping that people don't just half-ass it and that they do a decent job with it. Next, Ben Hassan asked, do you like Minecraft and any cool Minecraft stories to tell? No, I don't. Although, to be fair, I've never actually tried it. But, like I said before, I've never played like an RPG Maker game or anything like that, because I'm not, like, I don't think it's that I'm not good at making stuff. I could make stuff, I just don't have either the patience or the attention span to do it. That's the problem. I would probably start doing something, and then I'd build half of it, and then just get bored and be like, oh, this is taking too long, and then just go do something else. So that's why I've never tried making, like RPG Maker or something, trying to make a game, because I feel like I'm going to get halfway through it, and then I'm never going to finish it. Because that is my MO. Clearly, I have shelves full of unfinished video games. My MO is, I'll finish it later. And then I don't. So I don't have any good Minecraft stories to tell, I'm sorry. Last question from Claire Tasso, who says, could you show us your game collection? No. I could, but this podcast right now is already getting crazy long, and my game collection, as I've said, I have a lot of unfinished games on that shelf. It's kind of massive. I actually had to go looking for something on the shelf, and it was kind of a mess, because I hadn't organized it in a while. And I was stunned at how many games I have on this shelf. So, it's now slightly more organized. So, in the coming weeks, if I have the time and it is a light week and I don't really have anything else major to talk about, I could certainly say, here are my Xbox 360 games, and here are my Wii games. And then I could probably do DS and 3DS together, although I do have a lot of DS games. And And then I could totally do a Sony one, because I only have a handful of PS3 games and PSP games, so that wouldn't be too bad at all. But I'm not certainly would not be able to do all of that in one podcast. Oh, that's not even talking about the box of PS2, Xbox, and Nintendo 64 games that I have in the other room. So, oh, and Dreamcast. Forgot about the Dreamcast. Who can forget about the Dreamcast? So, yeah, that's going to take a while. So, no, I won't be able to do that here. But if you all want to see what else I've got, because, oh, I've got some embarrassing stuff, too. Spice Girls. So, I will keep that in mind for future podcasts, and we'll do those in installments. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I cannot believe that I have taped 100 of these, and I cannot believe that they have all been watched. Maybe you have not seen all 100 of them, but you might have seen quite a few. If there is anybody who has watched all 100 of them, let me know, because that's kind of insane. I mean, not that you're insane for watching them. I really love that you watched them. I just can't believe that anybody would actually sit here and watch me week after week. But you're still doing it, so I will still keep making these, and I will see you next week for a Happy New Year. Bye!